Yeah, hi.
All right. So here we go. We're going to get this warmed up and ready to go. We got two more people coming, but Chelsea Kingdom. We got London's Blue podcast back. Dan and Nick are still abroad. So guess who's filling in? Your favorite substitute teacher. And we got DPZ right away. David, you were on the trip. How was it? Anything exciting to note?
Oh, I think the trip was excellent. I hope you can hear me well. I seem to have an echo here, maybe.
I don't know. I hear you so far so good.
Okay, well, good then. No, the trip I think was excellent, and I hope everybody who's on the tour will agree with me. Even though if they were on the tour, they have to see my face again, and I apologize for that. You think they would be free of me at this point, but I think it was well worth it. A great win, obviously, on Thursday night against Spurs. A less great performance from Chelsea women over the weekend. I think there was also a fun FA Cup game at Fulham that they got to go to. So overall, it was a good time. A little live podcast action with Matt Law. Always a good time at Classic Football Shirts. So all in all, I think an excellent time for all.
Yeah, so much fun stuff, which is why those trips to London are good. But today, obviously, we got to talk a bit about the Brentford match, officially 0-0 drawing this one, which is quite, I don't know. We can't make it a West London derby, let's be honest, but points to be had as we get into the last, we have single-digit matches left to the season. I mean, we're coming down to the business end of the seat at the table right now.
I mean, here's the business end, as they like to say, right? So here's where all the talk about how well we played early on and how unwell we played late on, all that goes out the window, and all that matters is what you do for the last 2 months. And can no longer say, oh, all these points we picked up early on, why are you criticizing us? We're doing so well. Doesn't really matter. It's all about what you do now.
Definitely. And it was the inverse, right? Last season where Poch went on the big tear at the end of the season, getting us up into Europa League.
And now, I mean, that could be useful right now. It's say what you will against all Pochettino, especially after his current struggles, but he finished the season really well, and he got us to where we needed to, well, close to where we needed to be, I suppose.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, close, right? But the point is, Brentford really nothing to play for other than just being well rested after the international break. Chelsea having to play 2 matches coming off. Sam joining us now, so we'll kind of get your just initial take, because the headlines, and we've already seen it in the chat, is that everybody wants to talk about the lineup, right? Sam, it's what does Maresca want to do coming off of 2 matches in quick succession? Brentford below the mid-table line. What did you make of it as you were, such the analytical eye?
Well, I'm sort of as puzzled as everybody is, to be honest. I can understand in terms of trying to rest the players that have come back from an injury layoff. Palmer having a knock, Madueke having a knock, Jackson coming back after a long hiatus. But yeah, it just seemed like the kind of game that you have to win, because you do not want to go, with Liverpool sort of celebrating a title party and ending up in that game having to get 3 points, or Nottingham Forest being there with their back three, which we've been notoriously bad against, try to get 3 points there. So those are the kind of games that you want to have points in stock when you visit. So I would have rather wanted 3 points here. But yeah, I really can't fault it from that perspective. But the lineup was always going to be in a way where you have to get your points after the 60-minute mark. Don't think it was built to really raid them over 90 minutes, which is a shame because Brentford have conceded a lot. They haven't been as good as previous seasons, and they were there for the taking. Just felt the initiative wasn't there from Maresca.
Didn't they say that they had yet to keep a clean sheet at home all season?
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome, Brentford.
Checked that.
Charity FC.
Oh man.
Well, it just lacked urgency, I think, and energy, which is where we find ourselves, with this one. A good enough team on paper to go out and win this. But like I said, just the tone, right, is not what's there, which is what you want, because we'll get into top four and final matches of the season. But if you just take it in isolation today, again, Brentford have, more injuries than us at this point. You have pretty much a full lineup to choose from. The decisions were made with the changes that they had in mind. Was it 5? It comes back to me, I guess, David, like the Nkunku situation is completely dead in the water. There's no interest. There's nothing. And so I have to stop now hoping and holding out for the once golden boot winner of the Bundesliga. There's nothing here. Like
what happened to
and I
that
know
player?
Guyu's injured, but like you just can't go back to him. It has to be an exit this summer.
I mean, I think that there's no way he would. It doesn't look like he wants to be here. So why wouldn't he take the exit if offered? I mean, assuming probably going to come down to money as always with such things, but hopefully somebody can offer us something that we would take. But I mean, playing with him, it harkens back to some of the old, like the worst Fernando Torres days when we would line up with essentially a -1 player up there, and it's just he was never on the same page with anybody, whether it was James trying to give him a through ball, or we saw Enzo kind of yelling at him to drop for the ball. Except for once, I guess he was trying to go long for whatever reason, even though he did not do that once at all. Otherwise, I don't understand. And then the whole Sanchez try to find him ill-advisedly in multiple respects on that pass out that led to a chance that Brentford probably should have scored. So I mean, it's just it's a disaster with that guy, with Nkunku. So I don't know. I really don't understand what happened, and it can't just be a style thing, right? Like there's got to be an effort or a mentality thing that's happening here with him, and he doesn't seem to want to be here, which then leads to the question as to why would you start him? I mean, just don't play him then. Put Neto up top, or put Tosin up top. I don't care. Just somebody else. Like it was like actively hurting the team, and you cannot afford that. So I don't know. Sam, do you have any insight on this as to why this happened?
I complete agreement with you, David, because I was thinking if you did plan to rotate heavily in this game, then you might as have figured out putting Neto up top, because that has worked for you better than Nkunku ever has at number 9.
Right.
And then you go back to the same mistake that you've made all season, where you've put a clearly disenchanted player. I'm 100% certain you give him a manager that believes in him, or at least like plays him when he scores a hat trick, goes on to do a better job, genuinely. So I think Nkunku is a pretty volatile subject at this point in time. I think there's a player in there just doesn't want to play for us, which happens. But I think today was a lot about the little things, like especially with Nkunku, there was this one incident that multiple people pointed out over multiple group chats, where the ball was played forward, and Madueke had this 1v1. The ball was lost by Brentford, and there was this chance for us to start a transition with like a 2v2, and Nkunku was 20 yards behind because he hadn't really jogged up to the place where he's supposed to be, and that defines him. Just no effort. The basics of trying to be in the right place in the right time, trying to offer a little bit more. Didn't do that. And the other little thing that I think all of us saw was no pressure whatsoever on Rob Sanchez. The ball goes, loops up into the sky, and then he just drops it to his own bounce with nobody close by. So just defines the kind of seasons those two guys are having, I guess. Better players, but should be doing more, in my opinion. But I completely agree with you. You should have planned for Neto up front, and that's where Maresca got one wrong again.
Yeah, it's maybe somebody will ask him in the press conference what he was thinking. Although I doubt he'll say anything insightful.
Well, the classic, yes, he's such a deflector, such a non-answering manager. The thing is, creates a lot of frustration with a lot of the fans and supporters. with those situations. But yeah, I mean, look, there was talks about Nkunku going to PSG. I think there's a little bit of a 3-team trade that had to happen around that, and it didn't. And so you'd imagine, though, come this summer, anybody in Germany or Paris would be interested in him. It's going to be down to him accepting personal terms and Chelsea feeling like they get a decent offer and back him. But like, I just don't see how we could potentially start this season with Nkunku next year. And again, this is coming from someone who was so excited and so hyped for him to come in, even if it was a year and a half out. And it's been the biggest flop of a marriage, unfortunately, and it happens sometimes. So yeah, we'll have to figure that out. Dennis, Couch Critic, is here as well. So now we got full roster, full bench. We're just talking lineup. Dennis, in case anything stood out to you, frustrating or maybe surprisingly happy?
I wouldn't say surprisingly happy. Surprisingly shocked, to say the least, given the nature of the fixture. Like, obviously a very tough opponent in Brentford, one that always gives us trouble, frustration. You know, they play that physical style of football that we seem to struggle with, and then they defend deep. So you were hoping to have guys on the pitch that would, you know, probe in the final third, you know, give us a little bit more over the top. I mean, I heard you guys just talking about Nkunku there, and I agree. Like, it's just not worked. It's just not worked. We haven't found a position for him since the last 2 years now. Like, I feel like his best position for us would be, you know, just in behind a main striker. But even if it's Jackson doesn't even really strike me as a out-and-out number 9. So it's like you're playing with two sort of like, you know, nine and a halves essentially. And of the two, I would say that, you know, Jackson is clearly the more accomplished striker. So yeah, that frustrated us because I felt like we struggled to get out and really put pressure on their back line especially in that first half when we're trying to put pressure on them to, you know, win the ball back. And you saw a marked change in the second half when Jackson came out. We were recovering balls. They're trying to play out from the back. We recovered a lot of balls and kept the pressure on them. But the first half, that particular application was just non-existent. I think that it cost us in the end. But at the same time, when I saw the lineup, what I was thinking was specifically that Chelsea are looking to win this one late. We have another game this week. Obviously, have to save the legs. It's an important fixture. They're looking to bring on the subs late on in the second half and hopefully try steal one. But unfortunately, it just didn't end up that way.
Sam, one thing that I'm thinking about, right, goals and whatever, is we do have those young wide attackers as well. How do you think this experiment or lineup from the co-sporting directors has gone between Madueke, Jadon Sancho obviously coming in this season, Pedro Neto coming in this season? You know, normally we would have thrown Mudryk in there, but he's been suspended, obviously. But just in general, having these young, I would say fast, energetic wingers, but like from an end result, just coming up short yet again. Didn't seem like either of those guys had too many ideas.
Yeah, it's a tough one, and we've talked about this on earlier review pods where it does seem like the strategy is being pursued elsewhere. If you look at PSG, for example, they have gone for a mix of, I would say, experience and these young eclectic talents. So you've got, you know, for example, Desiree Doué, who we were tracking as well. One of them is there. They essentially skipped over Nkunku to go over those talented guys and try and find out if you can build a front line made for pressing. They gave Liverpool a hard time. So obviously, if you look at the raw materials, they are there. Have any of them scored 15 goals or assists in a league season before? I can probably count them on one hand. Up for, you know, out of 6 attackers that we have, keeping out Raheem Sterling. So I think there is a chance that at least 2 or 3 of them end up offering a good return in terms of what we've done, but probably won't happen anytime soon. So um, should have pursued, I feel like, better targets, at least suited to Maresca's way of thinking, way of playing wingers, and I don't think that's essentially what we have. Jadon Sancho, for example, put out this stat: 1 shot on target since Christmas. So, you know, if you want somebody who wants to offer you 15 goals and assists and barely gets, you know, 1.5 shots a game, then is he the right person for your system? And why did you spend 25 million on him as an obligation? So that's a big question mark for me. But Yeah, I think left winger now essentially becomes non-negotiable. You have to go out, pay the 5 million to United if they release the clause to cancel Jadon Sancho's deal, and go out and get a really, really good left winger, because that's what you need. But overall, don't think it's worked out. Can it work out in the future? I think it can, but right now, looking pretty bad. David, any thoughts?
uh, I don't know what is. I guess I don't really know what the master plan for Maresca might be in terms of the wingers. I, he seems to want him to stretch to play, which they do well enough. But yeah, I mean, we saw when Neto came on, I guess what we would expect from all the wingers, and he posed a threat, and he at least try to go for a goal a few times. I don't know what Sancho's major malfunction is as to why he just can't shoot, and the one time he tried today got blocked eventually because he took forever. So I mean, it's again, it's one of those where I don't necessarily know what Maresca is asking of them to do, but Neto started the season a little slowly, but over the last few months, we kind of, or he has proven kind of a useful acquisition, I would say. I don't necessarily hate what he does on the pitch, and he creates danger and can obviously fill in as a center forward ish as well. So I like that. Madueke coming off an injury, so I suppose he gets a pass, and at least he completed an hour. But yeah, I don't know. My concern is that so far from the targets we've been linked to, I imagine any incoming winger would be of a similar profile. So I don't know if it's necessarily, if that's what Maresca wants, that's what the sporting directors want, that's where the value is, or whatever we're looking for. But I'm not sure it's necessarily a player-centric issue. It's more of maybe a system.
There's a lot to take out of it. Dennis, if I try to dig out some positives here. So we got some good comments. Austin Griffin says another clean sheet, no open play goal conceded in 43 days. All right, you got that going for us. Lee Enzo saying no away win in 2025 in the league is not obviously great. And also confirming the quotes from Maresca are copy paste. It comes back to defending. So we'll say that, right? Up until the end, the Vandenberg header in the 80th minute was a 0.49 XG. Brentford would have been well under a 1.0 XG in the match, right? Until kind of the end there. They only had 9 shots with 2 on target. Overall, Sanchez didn't have to do too much, thankfully. Within the defensive unit, performing well, right? So Caicedo tracking back, Gusto playing almost the entire match on a caution, Reece James playing out on left against Mbuemo. Overall, what are you at least looking at defensively that seems to be the only bright spot? Maybe that's where Maresca is starting, is I need to lock down the back before we focus on the attack.
Cohesion. That's the main thing. Communication. It looks like we finally, last couple of games in particular, it looks like we finally have that communication. We're looking a little bit more solid at the back. Although with the way that Brentford play on the counter and whatnot, it looked like they were just running into acres of space on so many different occasions. But we defended resolute for the second time in succession, which is great. It shows that we have the mentality correct for the first time in a long time. I felt like for so large stretches of the season, it just felt like we're just helter-skelter up and down the pitch, and just hoping that, our 1v1 defending would be good enough to, help us, see out the match and whatnot, but it just hasn't been good enough. And, last game, I was really, really impressed with the adjustment that Maresca made in the second half to just see out the match. He went to 5 at the back, 5-4-1. We defended, compact and tight, and we took away the spaces. And I think that today was a carryover from that last game where we kind of, just defended resolutely. We didn't want to concede. And as much as they had opportunities to score, I felt like that was it the Vandenberg chance at the end there. And Mbuemo, who usually scores in those positions, if not for a great intervention from Sanchez today. For the most part, I think that we took away most of their dangerous opportunities. And they didn't look very much threatening from set pieces either, which is something that they're actually really, really good at. So Defensively is the only thing that we can take away from this game for me. I thought that like we defended as a unit. There was good communication on the pitch. You can see guys pointing to where they're passing off, attackers. In particular, Gusto Medweke, good communication there. When Neto came on the same. So as long as that continues, I think that we're going to be in good stead, because the first thing that we have to be able to do is be resolute defensively and then give us a platform to build offensively going forward. So happy with the performance defensively. We need more in the final third.
Sam, I guess any bright spots that we can pull out of this? I mean, I'm very biased and enjoy seeing Trevo doing well, but it's a lot more than just him back there, obviously.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm sort of a little pessimistic here because I look at every positive stat being thrown my way and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense to me, to be honest, because people are telling me that, yeah, like for example, people are telling me that we've conceded, what, 2 goals in the last 7 games. Wow, incredible. But those sides have been bottom of the league: Southampton, Copenhagen twice, Leicester City in the relegation zone, Arsenal without two strikers and Bukayo Saka, and Tottenham in 16th before they moved up top. So, am I supposed to be happy about this, or I genuinely don't know how to feel, to be very honest. But I do feel that the rest of the sides that we have to play now, Fulham just beat Liverpool. You've got Nottingham Forest, you've got Liverpool, and like David correctly said, what Poch did really well was he just went on a winning spree to finish the season, and that took us as close to the Champions League spots as we got. And if that doesn't happen here, then there's a very, very good chance the way the table is placed, even before we start next pod, we could be in sixth, and Newcastle could be just behind us with a game in hand. Everything else could change. So I do see it as a very precarious position. I do like the fact that yes, there is a little bit of defensive solidity even without West Fofana and everybody moving around in the back line. Yes, Sanchez's errors have gone away for the time being. Feels like he's made a couple of crucial saves, which is also great. But I'd love to see that sustain against sides that we're supposed to beat, and that's what I'm super anxious about. So, no positives, signs for me as yet. 0-0 against Brentford is the only positive sign because we usually go there and muck it up. We did it against when we were under Tuchel. We did it multiple times. They've gone and absolutely ragdolled us. So maybe a point isn't bad, but I hope this is not a retrospect thing where we just lose everything else and said, what if you could have had 2 more points then? Would he have like started with a different lineup? That's my only takeaway.
For sure. Definitely a little bit skinny time here at the end. So let's see how it kind of shakes out. So we've got what? 7 matches left. Is that my math right there, David?
Your math is correct.
All right, because my AI is not. So we've got what?
Don't trust that AI, man.
53 points. Typically, you want to get around the 70 mark to secure top 4 finish, right?
4 wins. All right.
Yeah, so that's where we start to do the math, right? So how do we get there, knowing that you've got Ipswich, Fulham, Everton, Liverpool, Newcastle, Man United, and Nottingham Forest, the last match of the season. Southampton officially being relegated. Would have been nice to throw them in here, but Liverpool, Newcastle are going to be really crucial, obviously, and just hopefully Liverpool have sealed it by then and they go off and have their parade and ship it in the rest of the season. But Newcastle, United, and Forest, I mean, especially those last 2, there's going to be no let up, and you have potentially more Conference League matches. As that's gone, it seems to be like we're in a really good spot to make the final.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily worried about United. I mean, the easy calculus is if you win all your home games, which we've been doing all right at home, that's 16 points, and you nick a point somewhere else, you're up to 70. So that's their home games are Ipswich. I mean, I hope we can win against Ipswich, considering we lost earlier this season. Everton, who unfortunately are doing quite well under Moisey. Liverpool, who hopefully will be on the beach. And then United. I can only hope we can beat United, who are pretty much hot garbage as all season. And then away you have Fulham, Newcastle, and Forest. I'm assuming we're not going to win any of those games, but that's just my optimistic side speaking. So it's this one, and I mean that's why this game was crucial, right? And that's 2 point. I look at it kind of as 2 points dropped. It was there for the taking. Like Dan said, they barely threatened until the very end of the game, at which point we almost got lucky in a way. So, you gotta score. You can't win if you don't score. So,
I mean,
I don't know.
two
I
wins.
guess I'm not necessarily as negative as Sam about it, but it's gonna be a tough one.
Yeah.
Good man, good man. I mean, 2 wins in 16 against United. The juju is there. So I
Come
am
on.
absolutely pooping bricks
No bad
about
jujus.
that one. Yeah, no matter how bad they are, they end up turning up against us or having like a remontada season. But
Yeah.
luckily, it's the second last game of the season, so hopefully there's no
Well,
motivation left.
I guess. Yeah. I was gonna
Godspeed.
say Sancho can't play, but I remember that one game where Sancho scored from like the halfway line or something like that. When I think it was under Tuchel. It was like their worst season up until this season, and then somehow we let him in. So just remember that one.
Yeah, I don't know, guys. I'm a firm believer that if we want top four, we have to take it. We're in a position right now where we just have to just hunker down and win the games, man. We're not asking for much, man. Like we're, all season long we've been in and around it, and obviously from Christmas on we kind of fell off the pace a bit, but now's the time. Like if you want top four, you have to win those games. Like let's just be real here. I don't care if it's Newcastle away or Forest away. Those are games that we should, be competing in at a high enough level to at least feel like we have a chance to win. Like that's just the mentality I think that we have to take into these games now. Not this woe is me. Oh my God, Chelsea, we've been so poor for the last 3 months. This is the time that we need to all, just put the right mentality forward and put the right effort onto the pitch. Just no exceptions now. We have to find those 4 or 5 wins down the stretch here and get top 4. It's just as simple as that for me.
I think we need to appoint Dennis as motivational speaker for the team.
Let's go, man.
Let's do it. We might have a chance then, because I'm not sure what Maresca is telling him, but it's probably not that.
No, it's a young team though too, young mentality, obviously. So you need guys that obviously leaders that have been there before, been through the wars. Like the manager can only do so much, X's and O's wise. It's about the guys on the pitch, just like taking it and looking at this opportunity as a chance to really achieve or make our objectives of the season. And I don't know, man. I'm not going to accept not finishing the season in the top 4. I'm not going to accept that because I feel like we have a good enough squad now to get it over the line. And these fixtures, while they are a little bit difficult and tough, it's not like matches that we cannot see ourselves winning in. At least that's the way I feel about it now.
The hope is what kills, Dennis, and that is where we're at yet again. I mean, look, around the match week 14, 15, 16, 17, we are all in second place, right leading up to December 22nd. And then we plummeted down to 5th through mid-January. And then we got all the way down to 7th towards the end of February. And we have climbed back up to 4th. But when you look at the teams around us in the table, Sam, it is the most fragile 4th place that we've ever seen. Whereas we had confidence around the turn of the year, that is really shattered. I mean, until recently, only a couple wins across 2 months. Granted, you had international breaks and things, but like the hope has really been sucked out of the room for Chelsea supporters. And we're left wondering if we can beat if we can win all of our home games against Ipswich, Everton, and Manchester United, most of these teams, if not all of them, in the teens of the table. Like this is where Enzo needs to come out. And when you hear like the most boring, interesting quotes post match, this is where I think he needs to grow as a leader to like add that conviction. Because right now, I don't think that any of us feel like he has the conviction that we are holding the team to. Like Dennis said, we expect you to go get top 4. Tell me you're doing everything you can to get there. And it's just not there. And that's the lack of connection, I think.
Well, I mean, it's been a bit of a bizarre run throughout the Premier League. I just saw a stat from Nick Miller from The Athletic say that the most winning streak in terms of games right now is held by Aston Villa and Wolves, which is 3 games. So nobody's
Wow.
been able to put together, a run of games where they've been building momentum. Everybody's been dropping points, which kind of explains where Man City are, where Tottenham are, where Man United are. So it's probably like a pan Premier League problem in terms of trying to figure out how to build a squad this season. Not just the league's been a little topsy-turvy, but I completely agree. I don't think you should leave your fate to the footballing gods this late into the season. And like David said, if you were to look at past seasons, probably would try to get around 13, 14 points to try and get that fifth, fourth spot tied up for the Champions League. So you need 4 wins. And if you don't get the Ipswich one, if you don't get, say, Fulham, then it looks very, very tough going into games against Newcastle, who will be competing for the same spot, Liverpool and those guys, Forest, for example. So, yeah, a little bit of an issue. I do think that there needs to be a little bit of impetus from the players to try and lift the collective. And you have to, at least the good thing that I can see in this run is the fact that we've somehow put together a run of good wins, despite Palmer being at his worst and despite Jackson not being around. So hopefully they can build up a little bit of steam in their legs and sort of push us over the line. If Palmer gets anywhere close to the kind of form he's been in, then you have a wing and a prayer, because that's exactly what Alexander Isak has been doing for Newcastle, for example. So
Hmm.
maybe you need those individuals to shine now more than ever. I don't think in this run the manager will matter as much. It's just a run of knockout fixtures to the top, and you try to play each one as a final and get there. So hopefully that'll take its own course from here on.
Exactly.
If only the manager didn't matter. Unfortunately, we see we seem to be getting worse the more he matters. So you know, take from that what you will.
Well, we'll have to, continue to shake some things up here because Chelsea are going away to Legia Warsaw on Thursday, and then turning around, right, and playing Ipswich like we talked about at the following weekend. So there is a lot going on for this group, which might not be ideal. Thursday away, Sunday away at Fulham, or but again, that's a nice easy travel day, which is helpful. Then you get back to having a couple matches every week. So Dennis, 4 more matches in quick succession, right? Poland away, Ipswich, Poland at home, or Warsaw at home, and then Fulham at the weekend, and then we get back to a week until you advance, and you're back to having 4 matches every 2 weeks. Like Maresca's got to figure this out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think ultimately the conference leagues games are that's what you want at this part of the season, right? You want to be at the business of playing for things, right? And you want 2 matches a week. You want guys, ready to play. So this shouldn't be, I mean, as much as it's not the most desirable competition to be in, this is like the runway that we want our players to be, fit and ready to get into. Like this is the run in now, right? Like this is where things are won. So, you know, it's it's an opportunity for us to find some form at the right time. Like you said last year under Pochettino, we did find some good form down the stretch. Granted, we didn't win any trophies, but we got to a couple finals. We went on a nice little streak of about 4 or 5 games at the end there to get the position that we're in. And yeah, I would like to see a replication of that, and it's not necessarily down to Maresca as much as it is just down to the mentality of the players that we have on the pitch, right? I felt like today was a perfect example of just snatching at opportunities, not really, looking to probe and get into these dangerous areas with real conviction. It's just kind of like, meandering in and around outside the 18-yard box. And this is just not it. Like we have to be more decisive in that final third. And for far too long now, it's just been a calamity down there. And yes, the manager can help, it can put people in positions to succeed, but when you get there and you're still fluffing chances, not putting everything into the opportunities that are presented to you, there's a problem. So yeah, we go into Poland, we play Warsaw, then we got what is it Brentford,
Ipswich.
Ipswich after that. These are winnable matches without question. I expect rotation again, which is part of the reason why I think that we saw some rotation at the beginning of this game. Give these guys some repetition so we can get into the midweek and feel like these guys have matches in their legs. important at this point in time in the season. I expect Jorgensen to probably come back in for the Conference League. I don't know how you guys think, but I assume that he's going to probably see out the end of that competition now, just based on the fact that he's been the guy that's taken us this far anyways. It makes sense. And yeah, I'm just hoping that, we have enough rotation in the squad to just win and as much as we can. We have injuries, but that's no excuse at this time of year.
Yeah, it's a little unfortunate that there's a steep drop off in some of the critical positions. Like
absolutely
going from Jackson and Nkunku is just it's like a cliff.
I mean, it's true, but I still expect Nkunku to be able to pierce that back line of Warsaw. Like I feel like he's still a quality enough goal scorer. We're just not playing to his strengths. Like this is, we're not. But he's a good enough clinical goal scorer that if you put him up against Warsaw, you should expect him to at least have some influence in that game. I think at least.
We can only hope.
That's where we've been. But we'll have to see. I mean, Sam, as we look to kind of put a bow on all this and things like that, like who, if you had to look at the roster and say, hey, we need this player to really step up and carry the team across the finish line, who do you think that player could be right now? Or how about this? Who should it be?
Oh, well, I could look from top to bottom, to be honest. And you would want them to step up. I think the only guy who's been consistently superb through the run has been Moises Caicedo. I don't think I have any complaints from him in terms of his effort. I think Enzo has stepped up pretty well in terms of what we needed from him, not just to up his ante in terms of what he does on the ball, but getting to 10 goals and assists, which he's never done in his senior career before. I think that's a really good achievement in the Premier League. So obviously he's playing further forward and has more access there, but just trying to get into those positions, maximizing his goal scoring has been very good. But I think we need Jackson now to embark on the kind of clinical run that he did when he was at Villarreal, where he just maxed out his XG. He went like 2.5 or 3 XG and he scored like 9 goals in that run. I think you need him to be absolutely clinical, and that's the kind of stuff you need even in knockout tournaments against Legia or whoever else we face. Going forward, you need him to put those chances away. I think that's the only thing missing from his game. The rest is very, very good. There was just this one moment where he spun one of the Brentford centre backs, did a sombrero over the top, almost got away, and essentially pulled a yellow card from there. Those are just delightful things to watch from a centre forward who's nowhere near his peak. So I think he can definitely step up. I think Palmer, we genuinely would be on our knees to sort of request and step up, because he's done that ever since he's been there. But if he can get his goal and assist tallies anywhere close to, like I said, he's been doing consistently for us, then you've got those two guys genuinely up there. I did mention that Brentford were the only Premier League team before the run of fixtures started, with two guys with 15 goals in assist. And if Jackson would have got one today, we would have become the second PL team. So I think when you have those two guys that can offer that level of firepower, then everything else takes care of itself. The synergy is there. That's independent of the manager's tactical instructions. Everything just happens in a heartbeat. So you need those guys to sort of discover their individual form and also rediscover what it was like playing with each other. So those two guys are the ones that I'm pointing at. I would love Dennis and David to jump in and let me know if there's something else on their mind here.
Well, you're good too. So Jackson, 9 goals, 5 assists in the Premier League, right? Like he could really increase his tally. What's interesting is Noni Madueke's second was 7 and 3 for 10 total goal contributions this season, but I can't remember the last time really that he made a positive impact. But anyways, yes, David, over to you in terms of like who needs to backpack Chelsea.
Straight shots at Madueke. Jeez. Yeah, my man just came back from an injury.
It's been a bit. That's all I'm saying.
Well, he's been out. I think, the obvious answer, I think, for who needs to step up is old Cole Palmer needs to find that fire or wherever it went over the last, what has been now, 12 games? I mean, I know he got the assist for the Enzo goal against Spurs, so at least he broke that goal contribution drought, but he looks the shadow of himself from what we saw earlier this season and last season. So, everybody else has more or less kind of played at the level that we know that they can play at. I mean, Caicedo has been excellent, so that's great. Enzo, when he's on, and sometimes he just disappears. The wingers or whatever. And Jackson, even when he's not scoring, he's doing the little things that we need him to do. So in my book, that's fine. But it's Palmer who's just him going off the boil is, I think has made a massive difference. And it might be a bit much to put that much pressure on a young player who had, really an amazing year and an amazing season. So you knew that the little sophomore slump would come at some point, but if he can rediscover himself in this last couple months, I think we would have a pretty decent chance. And assuming everybody else stays at least on the level that they're on right now, and including the goalkeepers not doing stupid things.
Again, that's what we're talking about. Who can
sorry,
help
Brandon.
us? Who can help us get there? No, I'm well aware.
Alliance over there.
When Sanchez drops the ball right in front of Mbeumo at the top of the box because he looked left, like
oh my god,
we got issues. Dennis, who you putting your hope on?
I mean, it's not too dissimilar from what David and Sam have said. It's going to be Cole Palmer. It has to be at this point. He's been our talismanic figure for large chunks of the last 2 years. And, a lot of what we do offensively is catered to his skill set. Like, we're trying to build around him offensively for the most part. So he's got to be the guy that takes us over the line at this point. If it's not him, then of course, the connection that he's established with Jackson is an important one. They seem to have some synergy on the pitch. We haven't seen much of it lately, but again, that could just be down to injuries and whatnot, and just not having the form carry over. But those two in particular are two guys that we need to see firing down the stretch here. There's just no question about it. And until we see, I mean, for Cole, I feel like it's just like he just needs to see the ball hit the back of the net again, whether it be on a penalty kick or just it bounces off his chest and then it falls in somehow. Whatever it is, he just has to see it hit the back of the net for him to find his form again, I feel, because now it just seems like he's clutching at opportunities. Well taken opportunity at the end of the game. I thought that that was going in. I thought for sure, first time strike, it looked like he was going to hit it, and it just narrowly went over the top of the bar. But those opportunities, I feel, when he sees one go in, are just going to continue to come, and hopefully he can just take more of them than miss. But here we are. We need him.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I would love to see a little bit of that Giroud-Hazard link up between Nico and Cole, where he'd knock it down, little stuff in the space, but it doesn't seem like that's Nico's forte at this point. But it is interesting. Like everyone, it's going to come down to goals, right? In the run of the stretch, we know we're doing pretty well defensively, but also we can't trust the goalkeeper not to make mistakes. Like Tottenham absolutely saved us with a little refereeing magic. There is a big gap there. So it's going to come down to the other end of the pitch. I do think Enzo is starting to show some of that leadership quality where I think he'll yell at people to do better and to be more intense. I think we're starting to see him kind of grow and mature into the player that we weren't sure if he would get there. I think from maturity-wise, it sounds like he's gone through a hell of a run off the pitch this year and making some decisions and whatnot. So growth, right? Growth mentality for Enzo, and hopefully that can affect him on the pitch. But we'll have to see. Today was not the day, though, Chelsea fans. It was not what we expected, not what we wanted. But Sam, Dennis, David, I appreciate you all jumping on, talking shop, and look, the other guys will be back. Those other two that you may have remembered on the pod will be back for more of the regular programming. But it was fun to be your substitute podcaster for the day. Sam, appreciate you. Anything you want to end on? Maybe drop a stat bomb that's going to be covered in your dispatch later?
Well, I'm saving the good ones for the dispatch, so might as well just line them up.
Jeez.
But yeah, I mean, the last.
Oh my god.
And somebody did mention one interesting one, that the only away win that we've had in 2025 is Copenhagen. So we need to change that desperately. That's not a record that you want to carry to the end of the season, especially half of the season. So yeah, hoping to switch that one up. But yeah, lovely to see you guys, and always great having a conversation.
I love it. Dennis, what about you?
Interesting one, but I'm longing to see Reece James in the positions that Gusto takes up. I just really think that his ability on the ball is just so much better. Like, how many opportunities did Gusto have on the ball today, just outside the 18, and just took the wrong one every time? You ever see that meme of like Patrick Ewing when he was a coach for Orlando Magic, where he's like, "What kind of shot was that? Have you practiced that shot? Why is that in your like?" I felt like that is exactly what applied to Gusto today, and I just don't want to see that anymore. You put Reece James in those positions, you get better decisions, better ball striking, everything. And I know the injury is something that we have to worry about and whatnot, but it's when you have a nuclear weapon like that playing so far back and not able to utilize it, it's problematic for me. And we've already heard Maresca go on his diatribe about how he thinks Reece James is a midfielder. Well, then use him as one. What's the harm here? Let's use him as one then, please. So I'm just gonna close on that. I think that we're in the run-in now. We're not saving him for anything else. Let's get him in the positions where we think they can be most quality, and that's the end of it for me.
Fair enough.
I'd like to see some fullbacks in actual fullbacks positions.
Wouldn't be a bad idea.
Just a wild thought over here. Instead of Gusto playing attacking midfield, nothing against him, but stick to the wings, please.
That's Maresca's thing that got him all some attention, right? That inverting those fullbacks inside, because it needs to be different. All right. Is that your ending thought there, DPZ?
Yeah, that's it.
Awesome. All right. Well, hey, Chelsea fans, appreciate you all. We got a rally. We got a few matches left. We walked our way there, how we get to top 4, but it is going to be tight. So anyways, appreciate everybody joining. Until next time, Chelsea fans, you know what to do. Keep the blue flag flying high.